AI cannot replace the human aspects of trucking. What AI can do, however, is to help with the stuff around the trucking.
Welcome to Trucking with OOIDA. I'm Ashley Blackford.
And I'm Scott Thompson. We've got a good one today, Ashley, here in just a moment. You heard him there briefly talking about artificial intelligence. Jacky Zhao, head of innovation for truckstop.com. We've talked about this before. I am fascinated by the prospects of AI. I'm also terrified by the prospects of,
it's kind of overwhelming to think about. So
yeah, and just how fast this has come on. We'll talk to Jacky about the ways in which AI is being used right now in trucking, the ways in which it could be used in the future. We'll talk about the good. We'll talk about the bad. All the potential there,
for sure,
everything around. So looking forward to that too, a little bit later on here.
Yeah.
And then maps. We're going to talk maps, right?
Ed Hassinger, the director of Missouri DOT. Missouri State map, fresh off the printer. Well, maybe not fresh. It's been out for a few weeks, I think. You already have yours.
I've got mine. I got to figure out a place to put it. Yeah.
We're going to talk to him about that.
Yes, absolutely. Before all that, though, let's get into some news here, Ashley, and we've got quite a bit to cover. And let's begin with the, I guess, seemingly never-ending battle over California's strict emissions regulations. This is a conversation that never seems to come to a conclusion here. And the newest thing here, and probably not for a while, especially now because we've got this new lawsuit. Only this one's a little bit different because the plaintiffs are the four big OEMs. We've got Daimler, International, PACCAR, and Volvo coming together to sue the state of California. And what they're claiming here is that they're being forced to comply with the Clean Truck Partnership. This was the agreement, if you recall, that was announced about 2 years ago in 2023 between CARB, the California Air Resources Board, of course, there, the truck manufacturers, and the Truck and Engine Manufacturers Association. If you remember, at the time, the state of California had a waiver in place from the EPA that essentially allowed it to put stricter emission regulations into place. That, of course, changed a couple months ago when Congress and then President Trump rescinded that waiver. So what we're looking at here is the OEMs essentially saying in this lawsuit that, we've got the federal government kind of telling us one thing, that we don't have to comply with these strict regulations. And then we've got California on the other side saying the opposite. So that's a claim here from the manufacturers, from the OEMs in the lawsuit. And they're asking the courts here to kind of help clarify what they are actually required to do under the law. And then in the meantime, while they figure that out, hit pause on the requirements. So the courts are going to hash this out. That will, of course, take time, as it usually does. But if you're keeping track, California also is a plaintiff in a separate case against the EPA and the federal government in which the state is challenging the rescinding of that waiver. So we've got lawsuits.
A lot going on there.
A banjo, what was a dueling banjos kind of situation there. But so interesting. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Truck recall to tell you about more than 1,000 International Motors LT model year 2024 through 2026 and RH model year 2025 trucks have been recalled. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the problem on the affected trucks is the hill start assist exhaust port may become clogged with ice and debris, which could cause the release of the service brakes to be delayed or completely prevented. Trucks affected by the recall include those with Eaton or International automated manual transmissions with electric stability control or automatic traction control. As for the fix, authorized dealers will relocate the Hill Start Assist valve exhaust on affected International trucks for free. Notification letters to be sent out on September 29th. This is one thing I don't know. Why so late? Well, it's August, 15th? Why can't we be sending these out
a little bit earlier?
I don't know.
Well, they got to get the envelopes and the stamps, and I don't know.
Yeah,
but if you have a question, if you've, got one of these vehicles and you're worried or concerned or even think that you might be affected, call your dealership and they'll help you out with all of that.
For sure.
Let's stay here for a bit at the OEM well, if you will, and briefly talk about one other story, really the biggest story of the week, perhaps, that being the EPA's DEF announcement. If you missed it, yesterday we talked about this in depth, the EPA offering guidance to manufacturers about DEF, urging them to update DEF system software in trucks to prevent sudden shutdowns. This is something that the EPA had been hearing from a lot of people about regarding problems. We hear about this a lot as well. And we said yesterday that we had reached out to the OEMs for comment and promised to bring those responses when we had them. We've got a few now. We'll share these with you. A Volvo spokesperson told us they, quote, believe the new strategy strikes the right balance between ensuring the potential system problems are addressed in a timely fashion and addressing customer concerns about the productivity impacts of the current inducements. Daimler also reaching back out to us after asking for a quote there. A spokesperson saying that they are currently evaluating the scope of the move and its implications. They also added, though, that they are supportive of these efforts to provide more flexibility with regard to DEF inducement. PACCAR responded by saying they respectfully declined to comment. Still have not heard back from International for a reaction there. But worth noting, the trucking industry as a whole, for the most part, all the reaction coming in, all the quotes from different associations, very supportive of this move. And as we said yesterday, lots of questions
For sure.
still remaining to be answered here. How's this going to happen? The software update. How much is it going to cost?
Time.
How long is it going to take? Exactly. Who goes in when and where and all that stuff. So we'll keep asking the questions. And when we get the answers, we'll have them for you right here.
Definitely. Cargo theft in Georgia to tell you about involved 3 tractor trailers that were filled with TVs, mini fridges, sinks, various goods. 4
Sinks?
people. Sinks.
Like, what are they? What's the thing? Packing the
Everything.
the kitchen sink,
but
everything
the
but the
kitchen
kitchen
sink.
Yeah. These guys
people
apparently took it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
4 people have been arrested, according to the Bibb County Sheriff's Office. This situation, it goes all the way back to December of last year. That's when police were first notified of two missing tractor trailers. They checked out the GPS on those, found those trailers completely emptied out. A few months later, a third tractor trailer was stolen and emptied. All 4 people arrested were charged with felony theft by taking and violation of the Georgia Racketeering Influenced Corrupt Organizations Act. But law enforcement is still investigating this as well.
Just the latest in a string of cargo thefts. Usually we're talking about Philadelphia, it seems, and meat.
Yeah.
But now we're talking Georgia and
Georgia.
sinks. Yeah. Well,
And
I'm
the
glad
kitchen sinks.
they caught these folks, alleged to have done this. But
They'd also said flat screen TVs, and I thought, are we selling any other type of TV? Are we able to get a tube TV? I don't know.
like the VCR combo one
Yeah.
that I used to have a long time
I had
ago.
one of those as well.
Yeah.
I had a DVD.
DVD.
I'm a little younger than
Well,
you,
I had
though.
the DVD VCR combo.
Oh.
Speaking of technology, we're talking how quickly that's moved on.
Yeah.
From that to DVDs to nobody owns any
No.
physical things anymore. We're going to talk artificial intelligence, a topic I'm very interested in. You don't think about it as much, apparently.
I do not.
You do not.
I
But
do
you're
not.
going to have to here pretty
In a
shortly.
few minutes, yeah.
And everybody listening will have to as well, because AI is coming whether we like it or not. Jacky Zhao of truckstop.com is coming up right after this break. Welcome back. As someone who is equal parts excited and terrified about the prospects of artificial intelligence in terms of its effect on basically everything, we've been looking for someone who can explain what it all looks like, especially in terms of how it might affect the trucking industry. And we found him. Jacky Zhao, head of innovation for truckstop.com, joins us on the line now. Jacky, thanks for talking with us. I am looking forward to this conversation.
God, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So, a lot of questions about where we are, where we might be headed here. Let's start a little bit with you and I guess your relationship with AI. How did you kind of get involved in all of this to begin with?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I'm the head of innovation over at truckstop.com. I spent the last 15 plus years in supply chain technology across various roles in various industries. I've kind of seen most of it from across all sides of the table. As far as how I got into AI, it was really right after college for me. I started at Samsung and I was working on their global supply chain. And I was building a lot of their software that helped track their inventory, right? The movement of their goods, spot any delays before they happen. So what we were doing there was we were predicting, whether these multi-million-dollar equipment, when they might fail. And that way teams can do preventive maintenance before things broke down, right? So basically I was using data and early AI models to make sure those factories around the world didn't run out of parts, they didn't break down, and the whole operation just could keep running smoothly. So that was like my earliest experience with AI. It was like right out of college. Had a ton of fun, learned a lot, but I had to jump into freight specifically at Coyote Logistics back in 2016. They've been acquired by RXO, and that's where I really got pulled into this industry. So growing up, never really thought about trucking, but after being around it for so long and just seeing how much coordination and hustle it takes to move goods across the country, like I was just instantly hooked, man. So every time I see the trucks on the road, I think like, okay, this is what keeps the economy running. It's actually my second tour at truckstop.com. Recently rejoined roughly like 3 weeks ago, actually. So I'm a new employee, but old employee at the same time. But at Truckstop, we're really focused on building AI tools to help the carriers, not just the brokers. From what I've been seeing, just like being in the industry, there's a ton of tech out there for the brokers, especially the large enterprise brokers already. But for the small fleets, for the owner operators, we truly believe that they deserve the same quality of tools. So we're working really hard to build that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm curious, you mentioned about, never imagining yourself like kind of in the trucking industry. I can't imagine you ever saw yourself in the artificial intelligence industry either,
Especially 15 years ago.
15 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, the artificial intelligence, I think, is such a broad term, and I think it's like evolved over the years. I think like in terms of like AI and what AI really meant over the years, back then it was really about how do you use machine learning, how do you use predictive analytics to find the best rate or find the best optimal load for the truck driver, for example. But over the years, especially like after November 2022, when ChatGPT came out into the world, everyone started thinking of AI as these like large language models where you talk to it and it responds back to you with something that sounds really real and realistic, and it's able to like mimic some sort of reasoning and advanced thinking, right? That's the sort of capability. So I think like over the years, like the definition of AI has definitely changed. It's such a broad term, but I think whenever we talk about AI these days, I think everyone refers to like the language models, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because what most people I think are using, and that's their experience with it. Have you been surprised? I have been surprised at just how quickly this has exploded. I mean, in the past, it was you'd see something in the movies, and this is what the future is going to look like with AI, and it's going to help us with that. And it always seemed like kind of a theory that was down the line, down the line, down the line. I mean, in the past, year and a half, 2 years, it seems to be already taking over so many aspects of life. Have you been surprised by that?
I have been surprised at the pace of it. Like we're definitely seeing a ton of momentum on our side, even as like the engineering side, right? The builders, and honestly, like these language models, they're improving fast. Like every 3 to 6 months, there's like it's not just a stepwise improvement; it's like massive improvements. They're either getting a lot cheaper, they're either getting a lot faster, or they're getting a lot smarter. And they're starting to handle complex workflows better and better. When I started working with large language models, back in early 2023, we had to do a lot of things just because these models were not as smart. They couldn't handle a lot of input text. They were slow and they were very costly. So we had to do a lot of things on our end to kind of play tricks to punk out the input, for example, or slow things down just to make sure that like the users don't feel like they're waiting like 20 seconds for a response. But now all the things that we've done in the past, it's like, well, wait a minute, the models themselves have improved to a point where you can just call it and it will respond back with a really coherent, accurate answer without you having to, do all the additional plumbing and extra enrichment that you previously had to do. So like it was definitely very surprising for us. At Truckstop, we're really exploring, a lot of the ways to how do we bring that power to the carriers, right? And again, not just the brokers. Like one thing that we're kind of seeing in the future, especially now that there's like voice AI out there for the brokers, I'm sure carriers are getting a lot of phone calls from these like robo dialers. one thing that we're seeing in the industry, and my prediction is that like there's probably going to be an AI dispatcher to work on behalf of the carriers,
Yeah.
right? So think of it as like a personal assistant for the driver. Right now, they're probably getting slammed with calls, with texts, with emails, with load offers, tracking text, like where's the load? So I can imagine how overwhelming that is for the drivers, for the carriers. So I think like down the road, there's going to be something that is able to take all that input, synthesize it really well, show the driver, exactly based off of everything that's coming at you, what are the best options in a very clean, easy, digestible format. What that looks like could, either be a text message, it could be an email, it could be something that you just look over the phone. But then it also reaches out to the brokers on your behalf if and when you give the green light, right? So it's like if the rate is too low, you know what? Let's just filter that out.
Yeah.
If you want to negotiate, yeah, the AI can do that for you within the limits that you set, right? That's the key part here. It's like we want to keep the human in the loop, and the human's always at the driver's seat, no pun intended, right? So this isn't really pie in the sky stuff. Like Scott, I think this is going to be coming out in the next couple months. Like before the end of the year, I'm sure you're going to see something out there, even if it's at version 1, even if it's a prototype. I think it's real tech that it's going to help the small fleets compete at an enterprise level.
When would you say the AI first started being incorporated into trucking?
I think it's been incorporated into trucking for a long time. When I started at Coyote, we were already working on load matching. We were already working on like carrier recommendation, as well as like rate prediction and benchmarking. So I would imagine that had already occurred probably like 3 or 4 years before I joined. Now, at the time, computing was not as strong back then. Like it was just not as powerful. So the computers couldn't handle as much data. They couldn't, I'll say, quote unquote, think as fast. But over the years, data storage has gotten so cheap, and compute, and especially with Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they've been kind of pouring a ton of resources into the data centers. It's gotten so cheap for engineers to go and take a large amount of data set, apply it to a machine learning algorithm, right? Quote unquote. It's just really a fancy word for like a recipe, like a mathematical recipe, and then come out with results, right? So it's able to take in like massive amounts of data about, let's just say, pricing for a particular lane, and it's able to find patterns without you, the human, specifying what to look for, right? It's able to just say, hey, these are the patterns that I'm seeing just based on the data alone. Now, where the human comes in is like, you can't just completely go off of the data, right? There's a lot of nuance in a particular price of a lane. There's a lot of nuance in terms of like which load you want to take next. So the human kind of comes in as like after the fact to make sure that the AI, the machine learning algorithm, so to speak, isn't making the wrong assumption, right? Just because it says in the data, there could be a very nuanced, valid reason for why that's the case. So I don't think the human ever goes away, but AI has always been around in the industry. It's just in different form factors. You know what I mean? It's sometimes it's in terms of price prediction. Sometimes it's in terms of like optimizing the next load for your route to take you back home. Sometimes it's really for fraud protection. But it's always been around in different form factors. It's maybe not always like right out in your face. I think the best types of AI are the ones that are built right inside your workflow, where you don't even notice it, right? It's not something that's intrusive. It's just like seamless within your day-to-day workflow.
Can we talk a little bit? And I think it's interesting. A few things you said there I think are interesting, and I'd like to kind of go down the path of exploring them a little bit. But you talk about how it's being used now, and you talk about brokers really utilizing this, and I think that's where we're seeing it the most. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Carriers are using it more and more. I think for owner operators out there, there are a lot of concerns about what this could mean for the future of their companies and their livelihoods. Can we talk about kind of, I guess, the entire ecosystem? Because you're talking a lot of benefits here in terms of increasing efficiency and making sure that, everything's working in the best way that it possibly can, and AI can certainly help with that. Can we talk about, again, I think in the context of both, potential benefits here are great, but there are a lot of potential downsides as well. Can you kind of
Yeah.
talk about those two and how they balance out? Because that's going to be a very difficult tightrope to walk as we kind of go down this path. And again, the technology is it's developing so quickly. It's hard to keep track of where this is going.
100%. And Scott, 100% agree, for sure. And I think it's important to be honest about that, right? One of the big risks with these large language models, like a lot of the AI software that I'm sure you're seeing out there today, is that they can hallucinate. Right? That's a very real thing.
Hallucinate. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So like that means that if the system isn't built properly, it can give you the wrong information or make up something that sounds real but isn't.
That doesn't help.
Right? And that does not help, right?
Yeah.
And that almost does more harm than good in a sense, right? Like if you don't know something, I'd rather you tell me that you don't know it and make up something incorrect, and then I take an action off of that incorrect information, right? So that is a very very huge risk in AI models. So for the owner operators, for the small fleets, for carriers overall, the carrier base overall, like you have to make sure that the tool that you're looking at has the right guardrails and has the right data to anchor onto. So a lot of AI demos that you see today, they look great on quote unquote the happy path, right? So happy path is when things go 100% correct. You feed it the best optimal conditions and it looks great, right? It does everything great. But the real test is when things go sideways, right? So what happens when something weird comes in? What if a broker sends a poorly formatted email? What if the broker forgets to attach, the rate confirmation, for example? That's when you find out if the AI is solid, if the platform that you're testing out, that you're vetting is solid. So not all AI tools are equal. So even if they use the same base foundational model, if they say, oh, we use like an open AI model or we use like an Anthropic model or a meta model, the data, the setup, the prompting, the guardrails, all of that makes a huge difference. So what I recommend is test the tool. Don't just buy into the marketing, right? Because I've seen a lot of bad demos on my side as well. Look at the unhappy paths too, right? And that's really where the truth comes out. So for the folks who if they feel overwhelmed with AI, I think that the best bit is to open up ChatGPT and just play with it, push it to the limits. Treat it as if it's an intern. That's how I treat it. Actually, it's an intern. It's very smart. It's very book smart, but it's very green, right? It's very inexperienced. So you almost have to tell it exactly what you need to. Like more is better in the case, right? So give it more information, more specific information. That's always better. More is better. Because the intern is very new, but the intern is very book smart. So as long as you give it really good information and as long as you give it really specific, explicit instructions, more times than not, it's gonna follow your instructions. But like as far as the other concern goes, is it eventually going to replace drivers? I would say no, right? Not even close. We're not even there yet. I think like I have a lot of conviction that like trucking is just way too complex. Just having been in this industry for 15 plus years, way too complex, way too physical, and it's too human for that. So like you need the experience, you need the judgment, and you need the relationship to do this job well. AI cannot replace the human aspects of trucking. What AI can do, however, is to help with the stuff around the trucking, right? So I'm talking about the tedious paperwork, the load searching, the fielding the emails, filtering through all the noise in your emails, your phone calls, your text message, all the other time-consuming things that pile up when you're trying to run a business of your own. That's where AI is most suited for, right? It's like the text messages, like those things.
Like an assistant.
So for the small fleets, it's exactly like your assistant or your dispatcher, however you want to call it. But like for the small fleets or owner operators, it works in the background, helps you move faster, catch things earlier, and reduce a lot of that like mental overhead. So you're still in control. It's just that the AI helps you do more with less.
I'm curious. I'm thinking of the truck driver that's listening right now going down the road and
Hmm.
thinking, I am not going to use
No,
AI.
thank you.
I don't want anything to do with it. What do you say to that person? And is that even a possibility, or is it going to be a possibility to avoid
You might not
AI?
have a choice,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best AI isn't intrusive. Like our goal here is so it's like the truck stop goal is pretty simple. Like we want to be the best freight marketplace out there. So that means doing more than just listing loads. It means showing you the right loads at the right time, not just whatever's out there. Building the tools that you can trust, or tools that help you run your business, not get in the way. Proactively fight fraud to protect carriers and small fleets, and then like supporting you through every step in your workflow. So things like planning a load, planning a route, booking a load, to getting paid, right? So like the proprietary data that we have in our ecosystem helps improve that experience. And at the end of the day, it's not just about like moving freight, it's about helping carriers, especially the owner ops, to run a profitable, efficient, sustainable business. And as I said earlier, the best use of AI is not in your face. The best use of AI is like behind the scenes, in the background. We want to make it seem like the drivers don't even realize that they have to go and learn this new tool.
Mm.
This is just part of their day to day. And because it's so seamless and part of your workflow, AI is helping you. And you don't even know it, right? It's just, oh, by the way, I noticed that you're going from Chicago to Atlanta and you're driving a drive in. Here's another load going out of Atlanta that's going back to your home base. Right? Something as simple as that, something that's helpful, where you're not having to go and talk to another chatbot or talk to this like robo dialer to come up with a response. So something that's like very don't key in on your day-to-day workflow.
We're still talking with Jacky Zhao about AI from truckstop.com. Jacky, kind of to Ashley's point earlier here, when you hear all this information, it's so overwhelming.
Mhm.
And to kind of piggyback off your question, Ashley, there are people listening right now that are
Yeah,
like, no thanks. I want no
absolutely not.
part of this. They may not have a choice down the line.
Mhm.
But, you know, I think this is coming for better or for worse. To those who are so apprehensive about it, is there anything, and maybe you said it earlier in terms of like playing around with Chat GPT, but are there things that they could be doing right now to kind of incorporate this into their business now in the most kind of easy, not confrontational, not scary way? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of tools out there, and it's free, it's cheap. Claude is one of them. That's CLAUDE by Anthropic. You can download their desktop application, and you can connect it to your email, your Google Drive, and just right off the bat, it can help sort emails for you.
Hmm.
It can help highlight and triage what are the most important emails that you're getting. So if you're getting 50, 100 emails a day
Yeah.
before you even get your first cup of coffee,
Yeah.
just from brokers everywhere, kind of like I do, it's going to be helpful to help sift through all that noise. Right now, I would suggest don't just dip your feet into it. Don't jump right into the river, so to speak, and be able to get comfortable with it. Hey, if I have the AI, looking at this work inbox for this particular one folder that brokers are sending me emails to, how do I best organize it? How do I best figure out which emails or which load offers are the most important, right? And
Yeah.
then how do I go and get the information back out and summarize it really quickly? Like to me, that is already a huge win. I'm already doing that, and it takes, I would say, probably it saves like at least an hour and a half out of my day every day. And then from there, you start to get more comfortable and you start to wonder, well, great, what is the next thing that I can do to help save me my time? Because at the end of the day, AI is not the enemy. AI is really just a tool. It really gives the hardworking businesses, the tools to compete, to grow, to stay ahead without having to become like technology experts. And when you start to see a lot of the value, you start thinking, where else can I apply this to my business?
Hmm.
And for the folks who are a little apprehensive about using AI right now, that's totally fine. But know this: AI is not going to replace people. However, people using AI will replace people, right?
Mm, yeah.
So like your competition, your fellow drivers, they're going to be using AI. They're going to be able to do 2x, 3x more and get more out of their day. So when you start to see that, the question then is, is it time to look at it? Is it time to explore it, to dabble in it?
Yeah.
And again, we don't have to jump 100 feet into the water. We can just like dip our toes in it.
Well, it may be get in the water or you don't, you're not in the water anymore. That analogy didn't work, but you may not have a choice. Again, I think
Yeah.
that's the question here for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious, we've talked about AI in the trucking world, but I'm curious from your perspective, looking at the bigger picture, the greater implications of AI on society and the economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting because I've been thinking a lot about it as well, from my side, right? I think what we're going to see, and my time frame could be off. It could be 10 years down the line, or it could be as soon as 3 years down the
Yeah.
line. But I think what we're going to see in the future is that humans, instead of being servants of work, we become orchestrators of work. And what that means is we will have all these AI interns, these assistants working alongside with us. And you can just quickly spin up one assistant, two assistant, three assistant pretty cheaply, pretty inexpensively, and quickly. And they're going to have the same level of intelligence and reasoning capabilities as, like, let's just say, like a graduate student right out of college. And they're able to take on a lot of these like tedious administrative tasks. So the humans, right, us in this room, we don't have to go and partake in those tasks. Rather, we have to now manage the AI to do those tasks correctly. So we all sort of eventually become managers of our little AI assistant interns. I think that's already happening. We're already seeing that in some aspects of the technology industry. We've noticed that a lot of software engineers, they're using AI to help build tools, and they're able to build something that typically takes 20 hours in less than half an hour, right? So the productivity gains alone is incredible, but that doesn't mean, you just set it and forget it and you walk away. That means you're managing that AI intern and you're evaluating the output, the code, so to speak, and the results, and you're applying like really hard quality checks around that. Just like how you won't let the intern go handle your finances, you're going to double check what the intern is doing,
Sure.
but you know what to check for, right? So the human has to still be in the driver's seat. The human still has to be the expert, that domain level expert, and has to be able to make that judgment call. The world, I think, is already heading there. I think it's just a matter of, which industries it's hitting first. But I think it's important to start to enter into that sort of mindset of like being orchestrators of work.
I said at the beginning, I'm kind of equal parts excited and
Mm,
terrified about where we're headed here. I think the exciting things are the things that you talked about there.
yeah.
There are these people who say this could end up curing cancer and, taking care of a lot of our problems. I tend to go to the darker side
He's a little
sometimes.
cup
Well,
half
a
full
little
here.
cynical, I suppose we could say at times. But, to that point, I think about the scary things too. Again, we look at the movies as kind of
Yeah.
being, foretellers here of where we might be headed, of AI taking over the world and, launch nuclear missiles or, whatever it may be. Do you have
Yeah.
concerns too? And again, this may be about who is programming these things, but what are your concerns, I guess, about the kind of less optimistic side?
Yeah, no, I think that's really valid, Scott. And I have those same concerns as well, to be honest with you. Just because I know firsthand that these tools, this technology is so powerful and capable. If it's in the wrong hands, even if it's not for nefarious reasons, let's just say that the builder just they didn't just put up the proper guardrails in place, and they let the AI have access to everything. They let the AI, control your computer, for example.
Yeah.
And if the AI starts to hallucinate, it could really it could really do some damage, right? And if you apply that to a larger scale, let's just say at a at a national level, that could be pretty dangerous. That's why it's really important, I think, to have that level of education. Don't be afraid of it. It's coming.
Yeah.
That genie is out of the bottle. It's coming. So definitely have that, education to learn about it, understand what these large language models are capable of, but also fully understand their limitations. The tool itself, the technology itself, is not evil. Now it's the people who are applying it, and I think that's kind of where they can do bad things or they can do really good things.
Yeah.
But it's really important to have the regulation behind it, B, the education around it, and then C, the guardrails. That I think is really important, and we need to have that sooner than later because this technology is evolving at such a fast pace. And there's also a lot of goods that we can build out of it, right? Like one of the first things that we built at Truckstop was like rate insights, for example, right? Like how do you quickly see what a lane is paying you, not just where you're going, but like what your rate looks like when you get there. So you're always like thinking one step ahead, right? So it's like we can definitely use this technology to help your business like drive more revenue, drive more efficiency in your day-to-day life. So it really depends on how you want to use it. But that's why I think having the proper guardrails, proper regulation, and education in place is absolutely critical.
And real quick, Jacky, if you were to give kind of a percentage, are you more optimistic? It sounds like you're more optimistic than pessimistic about this. Are we talking like 60-40, 70-30? What's the split there?
I would say I'm 60-40.
60-40,
on the
okay.
optimistic side. Yeah, because I do know that it is a very powerful tool, but I also know that it can definitely be damaging if not used correctly. And I've seen a lot of demos out there where it's just not built properly, and people are getting a bad experience out of it.
Yeah.
Now everyone's learning, right, at this such a rapid pace, which tells me that we're eventually gonna get there, right? And I think as long as there's like proper education, regulation in place, and the proper guardrails, I'm like confident that people will build tools to do good things, not harmful things.
Yes, that's the
good.
hope.
It's encouraging.
And that's what I hope too. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. But Jacky, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's interesting too. Truckstop.com is where people should go for more information on how they can utilize some of this stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely. And Scott, Ashley, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the chance to chat about this topic that's near and dear to my heart. To all the drivers out there listening, we see you, we respect you. And we're building tools out there to make your businesses easier, smarter, and more efficient. So definitely take care out there, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road. Appreciate it.
Love it. Thank you so much, Jacky. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks to all the hardworking drivers across the U.S. from the Allen Lund Company.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
High heat and low lubricity can break your diesel fuel down fast. Summer driving means crowded roads, more stress, dust, and a bigger risk of costly engine damage. Howe's Diesel Defender protects from the inside out, cleaning, lubricating, and fighting injector wear. Visit Howe'sProducts.com.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
At Truckstop, we built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truckstop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Welcome back. Scott, I'm curious, do you use a map or do you use your phone?
I use a map on my phone.
Okay, so
I don't use physical maps very often.
But do you have
a
a physical map?
I actually, as of a couple days ago, I do, because I got one in the mail from the Missouri DOT, which is what brings us to this conversation.
Which is exactly
right
what we are about to talk about.
Yeah.
Those are hot off the press, off the printer, if you will.
State maps.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we are going to get Ed Hassinger, the director of the Missouri Department of Transportation. We're going to give him a call.
Yeah.
Ask him a few questions about these.
Let's call him up.
Ashley. This is Ed Hassinger.
Hi, Ed. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
All right. I am here, but also with my co-host, Scott Thompson.
Hey,
You'll
Ed.
also hear.
Great.
How you doing?
Hey, Scott.
Hey, just want to let you know we were really enjoying that hold music. Have you listened to the hold music when you call your number there?
No.
Oh, okay.
Was it rock and roll?
It's like a jazz. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a jazzy, like
90s-esque.
Yeah.
We didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. No, I kind of liked it actually. So anyway,
I was thinking we should have like the long and winding road or the highway to hell or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That might be fitting.
There you go. Well, you can put in a word.
But there was no company that wanted to do that for us, so
yeah, you'd be paying a bit of a royalty fee probably.
Yeah, the royalties would probably kill us on that one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, this compliments to whoever picked that whole music. I was enjoying it for sure. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So I saw the other day that Missouri came out with the 2025-2026 official state highway map. I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit surprised by this. But obviously there's still important, there's still a demand for these, right?
Oh, there's a huge demand. It's kind of interesting in the world of GPS and everybody's got it on their phone. The demand for maps is still pretty strong. And, I don't know, a lot of people are still map people. You can look at it on your phone, but, you unfold the map and you can kind of see the whole state at once and you can maybe, see where you want to go. If you know where you're going, probably GPS is the way to go. But if you're kind of just thinking about what things you might want to do on your way, a map is a good way. And also there's a lot of places in the state that there isn't great cell service. So having a map in your glove box sometimes is a pretty good idea for safety and, when your phone runs out of juice, right, or something like that. So yeah, we printed about 675,000 this year, and we will probably distribute all of those, and we'll do it again next year. And then we update the map every 2 years. So, there's some small changes that get made and some things that we add to the map every couple of years. And of course, this is a new year with a new governor. So the governor is featured on the map talking about the state of Missouri. And there's a lot of other interesting things that are on there this year that, I think are of interest, not just highways and how to get from one place to the other, but there's a lot of other points of interest, trails and historic sites and bike routes and rest areas, roadside parks, things like that. In addition to the main thing, which is it shows the almost 34,000 miles of state highways and, which is highly important for us. And yeah, so we unveiled it at the State Fair, at the Highway Gardens on opening day of the State Fair, and I went by there yesterday, and we were giving them out as fast as people could come in. They were
Nice.
they were going after them, so it was good.
Yeah, and I'm sure our audience, primarily truck drivers, I mean, they would be the ones. I know my stepfather's a truck driver, and he very much would choose a paper map well over GPS any day. I'm curious, you said you saw people taking them. Is there a certain demographic you find that is geared toward these, or is it kind of, across the map?
Do
no
young
pun
people
intended.
look at it and they're like,
Yeah.
what is that
What is
thing?
this?
What is that relic of the
Well,
past?
I did have somebody at the Highway Gardens say, "What is this?" Yeah, so that does exist. We don't really, check the demographics. They're free, and we give them out at events like this and public meetings, and then people will call us and request one, but we don't really kind of do a demographic survey of who's getting maps.
So obviously you mentioned you do this every year and you make changes every couple years, I think you said there. Can you talk a little bit about the process and what that looks like? Because, obviously there are roads, and if they haven't changed, you don't have to do much. But in terms of making sure that everything is accurate, everything is updated, and y'all obviously want to make sure that everything is as up to date as can be. What does that process look like, and how many hours does it take? How many people? Everything. What's involved there?
Well, in our planning section, we have a group that works on not only the state map, but all the other mapping that we do for projects and keeping track of the system, at the engineering level. So, we have huge databases of every thing you can imagine that it takes to build, maintain, and operate a roadway system. And so we have some really skilled and talented people that keep those really detailed, GIS databases of all the different things that we deal with. And so it's not only roads and bridges, but, we also have our public use airports, our public ports on the rivers, our railroads. And so all those kind of create layers of the map, and we have a team that puts those all together. And then certainly we send kind of the drafts out to all of our district offices and say, hey, let's take a look at this, make sure it's accurate, make sure the things on there are spelled right. And it's really an ongoing long-term process that really takes a lot of people within the organization, in addition to the people that are full-time, database and mapping experts that work on this and the other things that we do to do our business. And then we ask our folks on the ground to kind of do the double check, and we update that every 2 years for any changes. And then we do when we have a census update, we do a big update because the map also has the population of every place in the state. So the 10-year redo has a lot more work involved in it. But yeah, it takes a pretty big effort to do this. But it's not just for the state map; it's for that and everything else that we do to manage and operate the system.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the census data. This is the first map that has the new information from, was it 2020?
The previous map would have had some of the 2020s, but this will be the second one that'll have that data in it. I think. Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Are you, Ed? Are you a big map guy? Because there is a kind of a fandom out there. And fandom maybe not the right word, but are you someone that enjoys delving into maps and looking at them and finding those little towns that you never heard of and things like that?
I like a good map. Yeah. I'm one that likes to look at the map, different kind of maps, and you when you're thinking about, hey, where do I want to go on vacation? It's I got the big map on the wall of the United States, and yeah, I kind of like a good map.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned this gets updated every 2 years, of course. We've kind of been following, of course, we're in Missouri as well, some of the I-70 construction, which obviously that will be in a couple of years updated there. Can you talk to me about how the widening of I-70 is going?
It's going great. We have been very fortunate that the legislature and the governor have seen the need that we've been talking about in Missouri for a long time, and put some general revenue money towards the expansion and actually rebuild. People don't remember I-70 was the first interstate in the entire country to go under contract in St. Charles County in 1956.
Yeah.
And so it's well overdue to be rebuilt and modernized for the next 70 years. But yeah, it's going at light speed, and we have 3 contracts under contract, and our goal is still to have the complete rebuild done by 2030, and I think we're on track to do that. There will be some. We're seeing some driver fatigue, of dealing with work zones. our goal is to always have at least 2 lanes open each direction for the, kind of the most traffic times of the day, depending on where we're at. And we've been able to, I think, do that. But, there are work zones, and we want people to slow down and respect those speed limits and the people that are working in those work zones. But we've been able to meet that goal. And, I'm sure your audience is very well aware of what's going on there and needs to be, because it's pretty important. And, but we think it's going really well.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that, because as someone who has made plenty of trips between Kansas City and Columbia, Kansas City and St. Louis, and back and forth, anybody that's done that, I think, has thought to themselves, I wish this were wider. I wish we had a bit of a better system. When this gets done in a few years here, it really is going to make life easier for a lot of folks, right?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of the comments we got in the public meetings that we do for each piece, they're really willing to put up with a little bit of inconvenience while we build it, because they say, oh my gosh, we've needed this for so long. We're glad that it's coming. And, the idea of 3 lanes across the entire state with improvements beyond that at some of our major interchanges is something we've all talked about for a really long time. And so we're talking about, more convenient, but more importantly, that it's going to be less congested. It's going to be safer. And, anything that happens on I-70 now that's unexpected creates huge traffic problems. If you experience that, if we have a minor fender bender, it can back up traffic in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And there's really no place else to go. And so a 3rd lane with full shoulders, I think that's something else that, we're going to do across the state, full shoulders on the outside. And at least the first 3 projects have been concrete barrier in the middle. Those are all things that I think will make that function way better, and it'll be, I think that it's sometimes when the traffic is heavy, it's not real comfortable to drive I-70 today,
Yeah.
and I think this will make that experience a lot better. Certainly, it'll be way more reliable, and people can count on, the transit time across the state will be really consistent. And yeah, so we're really excited about it and looking forward to keep that going.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the finished product as well. Real quick here, Ed, too, regarding the state maps, and actually I'm one of those 675,000? I got one of those 675,000 actually in my mailbox like yesterday or the day before. Anybody listening who's in Missouri who might want one, there's a website they can go to, right?
Right. They can go to the website, request a map, and we'll get it to them.
All right.
And
those
we're
free,
in other places. We're distributing them at the State Fair for the next few days. If you go to the State Fair, come by the Highway Gardens, and we got a free map for you.
Love it.
Awesome.
Excellent.
All right. Ed, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Our thanks again to Ed Hassinger of the Missouri Department of Transportation. Scott?
Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks to Ed, and thanks to everybody out there for listening, and drive safe and take care. Today's episode of Trucking with OOIDA was brought to you by a dedicated team of people that includes Jim Fetzer, Keegan White, Tennille Flick, and Kim Boren.
Got thoughts? We'd love to hear them. Call us at 1-800-324-6856 and leave us a message, or you can send us an email to podcast@ooida.com, and we might include it on the show.